All right, as I said at the top, a soft, soggy, pretty unimpressive jobs report today. Question is, are we at the front end of a recession? Not in it, but the front end of it. Joining us now, Steve Forbes, Forbes Media Chairman, Editor-in-Chief. Book, Inflation, Inflation.
What it is, why it's bad, and how to fix it.
All right, don't want to lose that. Don't ever want to lose that from Steve Forbes. And Scott Bessent, founder of Key Square Group down in, I guess he's in Charleston, South Carolina, and is going to try to keep the electricity on this time. Gentlemen, welcome back to the show. That was a joke, Scott. It's okay. I'll go with you. You're the furthest. You're the
people moving here.
What'd you say? Go ahead. What'd you say?
No, I said too many people moving here. They're all fleeing the Northeast.
I know. That's because, okay, drill, baby, drill. Scott, soft and soggy jobs number. And actually, if you take out the revisions and you just look at the private sector, you only had about 50,000 some odd jobs, which is may not be a recession, but it looks close to one. How do you read that story?
Well, Larry, I've been saying that I think the non-government adjacent private sector and the bottom 50% of American consumers have been in a recession for 2 years. You know, when you see we're spending 7% of GDP and we're getting a measly 250,000 private sector jobs in a year, that's a recession. You know, we got 7% deficit to GDP. The government's creating all the jobs. You know, 7% deficit to GDP. I could make Zimbabwe great again. I mean,
it'd be a challenge, but you could do it, Scott, because you're a very talented fellow. Zimbabwe would be very hard. Steve Forbes, we won't talk so much about Zimbabwe, but front end of a recession. What's your quick take on that?
It's actually a walking pneumonia.
Ah.
And I don't care what the theologians, economic theologians call it. Scott's exactly right. Over half the country feels they're in a recession. As we've discussed before, and you first brought this up, if you put an interest cost in the cost of living, people are really suffering.
You know what? Just on that, I want to digress for a minute. It's such an important point, and we've kicked it around. Michael Boskin is a very smart guy, okay, Republican economist and so forth, headed up the Boskin Commission to redo the price indexes, including the CPI. He took a lot of the borrowing costs out. Now, some people say he did that so the Social Security funds wouldn't have to keep paying up because the CPI would have been several points higher. Think about that. I mean, you know, some conspiracies are actually true.
Well, as they used to say in the Soviet Union, there are no coincidences, comrade. and so that's why Summers pointed out, former Treasury Secretary under Clinton, pointed out that if you put in borrowing costs, the height of inflation a couple of years ago wasn't 9%, was 18%.
Yeah.
And the rate today is about 6 or 7%.
That's right.
Twice what the reported numbers are.
And, you know, Scott Bessent, that's what President Trump's been saying. I mean, the cumulative 20% increase in the level of prices since 2020, and of course, individual prices up much more than that. But Mr. Trump's point is inflation is still here. I say it has a long tail. Now, Scott, you were sitting right in front of me, right next to him giving the speech yesterday. He argued that his program, and we're going to have some quotes on the dollar in a minute, that his program of tax cuts and deregulations and so-called smart tariffs and energy reform would be pro-growth without inflation, Scott Bessent. And I know you've been advising Mr. Trump. Were you convinced? Do you think he convinced that Wall Street audience?
I think he did. I thought he was remarkably conversant. He showed his knowledge of economics, the economy, and finance. He showed that he's a private sector person. Neither Vice President Harris nor Governor Walz has had a job in the private sector in their adult lives. President Trump was supposed to speak for 30 minutes. He spoke for an hour and 15. He took questions from 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats, unscripted. I don't think the president of the Economic Club of New York said that Vice President Harris has been invited. I don't think she's economically literate enough to be able to give a performance like this, much less risk answering questions from the other side of the aisle. I thought he did a magnificent job with his 8 points of laying out his vision. And Larry, it reminded me of back to his, and nobody would know this better than you, back to his 2016 style of identifying the problem, but then coming out with an optimistic solution that he is going to provide.
Yes. You know, it was really aspirational. You're exactly right. I mean, I call it renewal, but it was really aspirational and very optimistic. Now, I have a special treat from my dear friend Steve Forbes. Let's roll some tape. Mr. Trump talking about the dollar.
We have to continue to have that be the world currency. If we lost the dollar as the world currency, I think that would be the equivalent of losing a war. That would make us a third world country, and we can't let it happen. I'll say to him, you don't honor the dollar as your world currency. Is that right? You're not going to do it? No, we're not. I said, that's okay. I'm going to put tariffs all over your product. And they're going to say, sir, we'd love to honor the dollar as the world currency.
God love that. Steve Forbes, that is right out of your playbook. In fact, I think you may have written that for him.
There are no patents in politics.
But really, I mean, he has a very strong position on growth in this speech and a really strong position on the dollar.
Well, he's the only one who I think gets that the Federal Reserve is making a mistake by thinking you get rid of inflation by trashing the economy. You do it by having a stable value for the dollar, something that's trustworthy today, tomorrow, and in the future. We once had that status. And if you have a dollar that is trusted again, stable in value, which the Federal Reserve never mentions the value of the dollar or other currencies.
Ever. In any of their notes, in any of their forecasts, you're completely, ever. It's just like it doesn't exist.
And when we had a stable dollar in the 50s and 60s, guess what happened? We had the greatest period of growth prosperity in the 20th century. You
know, Scott Bessent, we're running out of time, and you're probably running out of electricity down there in Charleston. But I want to echo Steve Forbes' thought. Indeed, I wrote a book on the subject. JFK's tax cuts were accompanied by a dollar as good as gold. He insisted on that. His Treasury man, Douglas Dillon, who authored the tax cuts, kept the dollar as good as gold. And we had 6% growth nearly and no inflation, Scott. Give you the last word. Because you know what? Sometimes, like yesterday, Mr. Trump sounds like JFK, the best part of it, and Ronald Reagan rolled up into one.
Yeah, in a conversation with Art Laffer, I once asked him, Art, why do you think the dollar was so strong in the 1980s? And he said, Scott, it's simple. We increased the after-tax return for private enterprise in the U.S., and the economy took off, and everybody in the world wanted a part of that. And if Donald Trump delivers on what he talked about yesterday, everybody in the world will want a part of that. You can't get it in Europe. You can't get it in China. Certainly can't get it anywhere else.
We will win the global race for capital and the global race for growth. The USA will win that. Trump has the right agenda.
And save the free world. When America gets it right, the rest of the world will get it right. Just we did in the 80s.
The free world needs some good saving. You're 100% right. Scott Bessent, thank you, buddy. And Steve Forbes, thank you ever so much to both.